Alright, Q&A episode 8, let's get on with it. From Amatos348. Do the Earthcast know about the hyperspace rings that the Jedi use? I imagine that would be a high priority to reverse engineer. Yes, they do, and they are very much interested in this technology. Though the time needed to figure out how to retrofit basically every Tau void-capable vessel will take time. After all, Tau starfighters lack shields when many in Star Wars possess them. The Earthcast will have to work hard on figuring out how to modernize their forces, and it will take time. Years, even. This, of course, includes hyperdrive, either be it within the vehicle itself or in the form of a ring. Okay, next question from GGE8N3W. Just how much information do the people of Star Wars have on the Tau? Like, are they just given vague impressions? Good question. The Tau play an interesting game here. On one hand, they want to be seen as open with information, to be seen as friendly, honest and transparent. But at the same time, some information is harder to get to, usually regarding the horrors of Warhammer 40k Galaxy, where this information is reserved only for Jedi, the senators and high-ranking members of Republic military. In this shadowy game of truths and horrors, Tau hide certain details or omit to mention some information. For example, technically, the Tau didn't hide the information that the crew were cannibals and that they consume the flesh of other intelligent species. They just placed this information deep in the documents so that few people will get to it. And even if they managed to get there, there was additional information regarding, the horrors, the orcs, and so forth, just to distract them, so that less and less people would be interested in this little detail. How the Tau release information and data, both to the people in power as well as to general public, is already part of their propaganda game. And although only a month has passed, it's starting to work better and better. At least in case of people who are actually interested in finding out more about the Tau. Okay, next question from Hopper2Hacker2. Q&A, I wonder if we will see a rematch between Ravax and True Strike, maybe using an actual Knight-class battlesuit such as Riptide. Or perhaps Blackthorns have Knight or Titan-class asset at their disposal. I would love to see the reaction from Star Wars Galaxy to the largest weapons the Tau have access to. Don't worry about that, my friend. I have plans for a rematch and what Rancor will face. You can also expect that the Tau will bring out their heavy guns, not to mention the wider galaxy's reaction to their grand reveal. As for the Knights and Titans, don't expect them, but also don't assume they won't show up. All shall be revealed in good time. Okay, next question from Stubborn Spaceman 7201. Q&A, with their advanced technology, do you think the Tau would be able to undo what happened to Tatooine that turned it into a desert planet? Sure. Tatooine would be a challenging planet to transform, not terraform, transform, but it's not beyond the capabilities of the Earthcast. Then again, Tatooine belongs to the Hutts, Jabba the Hutt more specifically. I would imagine he wouldn't want Tau to meddle with his planet. But time will tell how the fate of Tatooine will change. On another note, it's also worth remembering that the Tau enjoy arid and desert planets. So even if there would be some level of transformation on Tatooine, if the Tau captured it, it wouldn't be as extensive as some people might imagine. Like they wouldn't change it into a garden world. Okay, next question from Darth Sonic 4135. One hell of a name. Okay, don't the Tau have historical records on the various galactic conflicts like the Jedi Civil War and the Great Galactic Wars? Because they sound like they are theory crafting about the Republic's past military strength as opposed to talking definitely in this episode. Okay, that would seem like a fair point, if not for one very important detail. The records you talk about are at least 1,000 years old. Remember that we, as people who enjoy the hobby and read the wiki, we have the access to Wikipedia. Yeah, and those is like the information of what actually happened. These aren't historical documents that are available to the people in given era. Not to mention that some records can be locked away in either private libraries or of libraries of some organizations, like for example in Jedi Temple. I do not believe that Jedi Temple library is open to the public. So for example, those records inside there wouldn't be available to the Tau. Then you have to put into account, the propaganda of the time, who recorded the given information, and so on and so forth. Think about the myths and misconceptions about how war looked like from what we managed to find out and what is actually written in documents. Myths and legends grow with time. And with 1,000 years since the last big war, I can assure you that there are a lot of myths. And remember that the Tau, interacted with Imperium of Man, that most of its ancient history is basically mythology. Like the Great Crusade, the God Emperor, even the information about how many Primarchs he created. There are so many myths and misconceptions, and the Tau are used to, seeping through so many different accounts trying to find the truth. The same is happening here. They are just unsure how much truth is in these documents, how much of it is a myth. For example, the Sith themselves. Imagine how much more demonic and how evil they are presented through the myths and legends after 1,000 years of Jedi dominance. So yeah, this is the reason why the Tau are theory crafting and trying to figure out how much more powerful the Republic military really was in the past. The Tau can't put their trust into 1,000 old or more or even older documents. They can't jump back in time. They have only current era to judge the Republic by. And what they see is a rotten colossus with a joke of a military, because pre-Clone Wars Republic military was a joke, it was a sham. And then in documents they read about armies of Jedi Knights, great armies and great navy of a Republic. And what they see currently is like an echo of a fart of an echo of the ancient Republic military. Yeah, sorry for the little rumble, but yeah, this is the explanation. The Tau simply do not trust the old documents and old records provided to them by the Republic. And I mean, for good reason. If I was given a document that was 1,000 years old, I would also analyze it with, a pinch of salt. Okay, next question from Glorian. Q&A, how would you compare lasguns, Tau rifles and over 40k weapons to, say, the common infantry weapons of Star Wars? Interesting question. I actually like how A Fan With Too Much Time presented lasguns in his Star Wars vs Warhammer 40k series. And although his series or its quality dropped significantly in newest episodes, I still think that people should enjoy like the early stages of his writing. I think the early stages of his writing is still good. But yeah, anyway, he presented that las guns have relatively good range, great fire rate, but the armor of the clone troopers can take one hit and absorb a direct shot completely, but after this first shot, the armor is damaged enough that if its second las bolt or the beam of light hits the same spot or same region, it will have full effect and just blow the limb off or, explode the head. Blasters are hard to compare because every blaster is different. Like there are those of civilians, of those of militia, and those that are supercharged to be even more destructive. The main advantage that I see the blasters have over any weapon, basically, is the amount of shots they can fire before they need to reload. The fire rate isn't amazing, the velocity of the rounds themselves, or the bolts, is rather laughable overall, but yeah, the ammunition and general range. Despite slow velocity, the blaster bolts can travel quite far. As for the destructive power, it's all over the place regarding books, shows, movies, so it's hard to determine. But pulse weapons of a Tau, that's something else. Pulse weapons of a Tau is like, imagine a blaster, but with far greater velocity of a bolt, and each bolt is anti-armor, like armor-piercing bolt. Because, how to explain it? Okay, the Tau are using like 3 main infantry weapons. The pulse rifle, the pulse carbine, and pulse blaster. And to compare it, pulse rifle is like M1 Garand. It's decent fire rate, good range, good velocity, punches through armor with amazing power. This can be easily converted into a sniper rifle. This pulse rifle has far greater effective range than basically both blaster and lasgun. Because lasgun technically, yes, you can fire it quite far away, but the light dissipates in the distance with dust and particles in the air. The blaster bolt has far slower velocity compared to the pulse rifle. So pulse rifle is extremely destructive against armor, with slower fire rate, and basically all pulse weapons have far less ammunition than both lasguns and blasters. That's their weakness. Pulse carbine boosts fire rate, so you can fire far faster, but you are losing this armor punching ability. On the other hand, each pulse carbine has an underslung grenade launcher, so you still have quite amazing firepower either way. As for pulse blaster is basically a plasma shotgun. Very short range, but devastating. I am quite certain that if you put a pulse blaster against a space marine chest plate, it would punch through at a proper distance. Bloody devastating. So yeah, in general comparison, the pulse rifle or pulse weapons are, in general, superior to las weapons, with only exception being ammunition and fire rate. As for the blaster comparison, just think of pulse weapons as better or superior blasters, basically. Without counting the ammunition, because that's the weakness of pulse weapons. They have far less ammunition compared to both lasguns and blasters. Okay, next question from Tiago Emilio 7204. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Q&A: will you show Satine's reaction to the Tau? The Firecast existence puts her idea of raising the warriors way into question. I do not believe she wants to erase warriors, she is just pacifist. I'd never seen her like saying no warriors should exist, it's just we should promote the pacifist ways as the answer to the self-destructive nature of Mandalorians. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out. As for her reaction to the Tau, she's kinda irrelevant at this time. Like, Satine only gets relevant during the Clone Wars when she establishes the Council of Neutral Systems. Other things of note is that Mandalore is very far away from the Tau, and the new Mandalorians, the faction that the Satine rules over, don't really give a flying fuck about the warrior clans of Mandalore, as long as they don't, mess with new Mandalorians. So if you asked how would the Satine react to the Tau, hiring or convincing a Mandalorian clan to join their ranks, she would be probably disappointed that those Mandalorians chose to continue the path of a warrior rather than a pacifist, but she also couldn't complain because she exiled those warriors. She can't get mad now that they are finding, new employer or new home. Look, man, I get the idea behind fan service. I really do. There is a reason why some characters showed up, but I want to introduce them, organically into the narrative. Like what I did in episode 4 with Ashen Blade, Tarking, Dodana and Screed. It's a good introduction of a fan favorite characters, but keeping it, believable. It's believable that Tarkin, Dodana and Screed, as, pro-military members of the Republic, would be on Coruscant. But with Satine, again, Satine and Mandalore and new Mandalorians are basically irrelevant to the narrative as of now. I think she will show up in the story eventually, but I will not bend over backward to, introduce her faster than I need to. Okay, next question from Lipe-san. Since we already had a brief glimpse of the topic in the episode, I'd like to know what do the Tau think about the great lack of automation in the galaxy despite the extensive use of droids. Quite an interesting question actually, because in Star Wars Galaxy, the relation between, human or, I don't know how to call it, flesh labor and robotic or droid labor is totally in chaos, like totally unbalanced, without balance. I mentioned it in the story itself, like the Dreadnought class heavy cruiser, which I think you are referring to. A relatively small vessel, which, sure, quite potent, but 16,000 crew? These guys need to be packed like sardines inside. But, and this is really amusing. In this very same era, where the Dreadnought heavy class cruiser is one of the bigger ships of the Republic, we have Trade Federation with Lucre Hulks that has minimal living crew and just insane amount of droids everywhere. To the Tau, this is a paradox, because how is it possible that, so many civilizations that have access both to, fleshy, living people and droids can't somehow find a balance between two to ensure greatest efficiency of their vessels? Because Tau found it, and it wasn't that hard. Well, mostly because of their philosophy and their way of thinking, but still, they found a solution. The Tau used drones everywhere, literally everywhere, in every aspect of life, of economy, of science, of research, of military, of combat, everywhere. And yet, there are no, unemployed people in the Empire, in the Commonwealth. So clearly, the balance between droids and living workers is very much attainable. It just, the people of Star Wars Galaxy, for some reason, can't achieve it. Well, not some reason. There are very obvious reasons. First is the disdain of droids throughout the galaxy. For many different reasons, people do not like droids and discriminate against them. On the other hand, great corporations work very, very hard to ensure that they have droid workers, automated factories and militaries to cut costs. So yeah, to the Tau, the Sky River Galaxy in terms of relations between the living and the droids is completely out of balance, to the point of being unreasonable. And the best part is, the Tau know how, factions in 40k work, why they don't use certain machines. Like, even the Imperium, yeah? You have living beings and there are servitors who replace, drones and droids in the society. Though it's a bit of a radical take, the Tau would see that the Imperium found more of a balance between, living intelligent workers and servitors than the wider Sky River Galaxy found between living people and droids. Which says a lot. Because Imperium of Man is a fucking mess. And I assure you the Tau philosophers and engineers will think and try to figure out for quite some time why the galaxy, which is so much more friendlier, so much more open to many ideas and different cultures, can't figure out something that simple out. Okay, I believe that will be all for today. I will be working on more shorts and videos to keep you entertained. Remember about the 50% discount on my Patreon for 2nd, 3rd and 4th tier. Use code 4230D. And remember that Season 3 of Homebrews has started, so if you have homebrews you'd like to share, you still have time to do so. Stay tuned and stay safe out there.